Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen roommate demands I do her taxes. After that, am I the jerk for preventing my neighbor from getting high-speed internet? And after that, entitled mom demands I invite her kids to a party that's not even a party. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to do her own taxes. How about I claim you as a dependent, Reddit boy? So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen roommate demands I do her taxes. My roommate, 29 female, and I, also 29 female, have been living together for 9 years. This whole time, I filed her taxes every year until last year. Every year, she'd hand me her W-2, social security card, and ID, and I'd go to my sister's place to file her taxes online. I get my sister's help because I'm dyslexic and don't want to accidentally mix up any numbers while filing. I would always ask my roommate if she wanted to go with us, and she would refuse, choosing to stay home and watch shows instead. Whenever my sister helps me with taxes, I treat her out for lunch as a thank you, whether this is going to a restaurant, fast food, or getting delivery of her choice. This is where my frustration with my roommate comes in. She would never go with me to file her taxes, saying that she trusted me. I'd take screenshots of everything to show her what was filed, how much she would get, etc. When she'd get her tax return, she'd accuse me of stealing some of it, though I could always prove that I didn't. She never pitched in any money toward treating my sister out for lunch as thanks for help, but would also get mad if we didn't bring back food for her. So last year, I told her that I wasn't going to do her taxes anymore. She whined about not knowing how to do it and being too anxious to go to a professional. I told her that she should have been more involved before, and I don't want to do everything for her. She never went to a professional to get her taxes done and didn't do it herself. She didn't file at all last year. This year, she asked me to do her taxes and I refused. She started crying and said that I'm ruining everything by not helping her. She complained to her friends at work about this, who all told me that I'm being unnecessarily mean and I should help her out, because she clearly isn't responsible enough to do this on her own. They told me that she's still young and shouldn't have to worry about it so much, but she and I are literally only 3 months apart in age. She has not filed yet this year, and I'm being told that I'm the jerk for not helping her because she's too anxious to get her taxes done professionally and too insecure to do it herself. At this rate, she may not file this year too, and only my sister is on my side in this. I have really bad social anxiety about seeing a professional, and that's partially why I do my taxes myself with my sister's help. So I understand being anxious, but am I really the jerk for not helping her? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her roommate? Please let us know. I hope you're able to find a new roommate, OP, one who hopefully you won't have to babysit. Am I the jerk for preventing my neighbor from getting high-speed internet? So I recently got high-speed internet to my house after not having it for nearly a decade. I live in an area that has multiple options for broadband, but my house sits back about a mile off the public road, so most utilities need to be hardlined to work. Despite living in a large piece of property, my one and only neighbor is about 800 feet away from me due to the original owners being family members and wanting their homes to be semi-close. We get along, but don't interact much. They have done some things that I consider rude, but they seem like generally okay people. When I first moved in, I worked out a deal with our local internet provider to run a main line to my home if I could get the neighbor to sign up as well. Reason for that is they allow a certain allowance per customer per construction costs, and with 2 of us, the total was high enough to cover everything. Now, there is no contract, so they could cancel after the first month, and I offered to pay for their services for the first 3 months as a thank you. They declined and said that they were happy with DSL. I explained that they didn't have to get rid of anything. I just needed them to allow the line to be ran underground and sign on for a month minimum, and I'd cover it. Still no. We planned on buying a new house eventually, so I never had it installed as I didn't want to pay. With everything going on and working from home, I finally worked a deal out that if I did some of the construction, they would cover any extra costs for the installation. Now, my neighbor sees what's going on and comes to ask about our new internet provider. I explained what I had to go through and that he could do the same if he wanted. Next thing I know, an installer is knocking on my door, letting me know he's going to lay cable across my driveway temporarily and that they'll need to dig it up to go across permanently. I asked what he was talking about, and he said he was installing cable for the neighbor. I said, "No, you're not. not for my property anyway. Now the neighbor is begging me to give them an easement for his cable drop. I said no for 2 reasons. 1, you did me over years ago when I wanted the cable originally. 2, I really don't want them digging into the driveway or having to mow around a wire on the yard all summer. I admit I'm being petty, but I don't think I'm the jerk. I mentioned it to a friend and they went off about how everyone is struggling and that I should be a good neighbor and to stop being a spiteful jerk. So, just to add a couple of things because I've gotten so many questions, under the original deal 10 years ago, I approached the neighbors about a year after moving in. I explained that I noticed we weren't serviceable by the cable company, so I approached them to find out what had to be done. I explained that the cable company had to agree to doing the work and that I would let them do everything on my property. The cable company required me to put a deposit of $10,000 down, which would be returned after we both got service to our homes. I explained that they didn't have to sign or do anything to proceed, but that I just needed them to sign up for service for a month once it was done so that I could get my deposit back. I offered to pay for that and also offered to pay for their first 3 months of service if they chose to permanently switch. They had zero interest in helping out. This alone has cost me $18,000 over the last 10 years. That deal no longer exists, and with rising costs of everything, I reached out to the cable company again to see what we could do. They agreed to cover above and beyond their normal allowance if I handled excavation. Construction costs were around $70,000. $60,000 of that was installing the hard line back to the PED where the services hook up. So I saved $60,000 by doing the work myself, and the cable company covered the remainder. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their neighbor? Please let us know.
Thank goodness we have AT&T Fiber, ain't that right, Reddit boy?
Entitled mom demands I invite her kids to a party that's not even a party. So some backstory. My brother is an ER doctor and his husband an ER nurse, so they both work long hours throughout the week. They have twins, we will call them Ann and Kin, not their real names, just the first to pop in my head. Now because of their workload, me and my sister help throughout the week by taking the kids after school a few days a week. I have them on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Well, Friday happens to be my niece and nephew's birthday. Now, due to lockdown, we can't have a big party that they're used to, but I still wanted to make it special. My niece and nephew had become friends with 2 kids in the building, Sarah and Blake, again, fake names. Their mother, we will call Nice Neighbor. I had become friends with her. Now, every time my niece and nephew are over, they play with Sarah and Blake. So I told the twins that Sarah and Blake could come over on Friday for a little birthday sleepover. I worked it out with Sarah and Blake's mom and got everything ready. Now here's where Entitled Mom comes in. As I was coming in the building, Entitled Mom ran up to me.
So, you're having a party tonight?
Me. What? No.
Sarah and Blake told my kids that they were going to your niece's party at your apartment.
Me. It's not a party. It's my niece and nephew's birthday, so I told them they could have Sarah and Blake over to watch movies.
Well, my kids are upset that they weren't invited.
Me. Sorry, but like I said, it's not a party. Just my niece and nephew having friends over.
My kids would love a sleepover.
Me. Oh, well then maybe you should throw one.
You could be nice and invite them. It's not nice to leave kids out.
Me. I don't even know your kids. Sarah and Blake have been friends with my niece and nephew for going on 3 years.
Well, they can always get to know each other at the party.
No, my niece doesn't like strange people.
I'm your neighbor. I'm not strange.
You tried to break into my apartment a few days ago.
You're being overly dramatic.
And you're being crazy.
Well, that's rude.
I rolled my eyes and walked away before she could say anything else. Am I the jerk for ignoring my nephew after he stole an important $50 bill from me? There's a story behind that bill, and it mattered a lot to me. My best friend Henry and I knew each other since we were in middle school. In high school, we were pretty adamant about being child-free and swore that we'd never have kids. He decided to make a little bet though. First guy to have a kid owed the other $50. It was a dumb bet that I didn't really take seriously, and I completely forgot about it until 9 years later. I was with Henry at a diner once for lunch, and he slips me a $50 bill. It took me a minute, but when it clicked, I was so ecstatic. Still one of my fondest memories with him. 2 grown men hugging it out at a diner in tears after giving me the news that he's going to be a dad for the first time. His daughter was born after that. I was honored to be her godfather. Then, unfortunately, we lost him all too soon when his daughter was just 5. It's been 3 years since then, and I still miss him. We were like brothers, and I kept that bill as a memento. I see my goddaughter all the time, so the bill is also a reminder of the first time I learned of her existence. Kept it in a small box with other sentimental things of mine on top of a dresser in my room. My sister is staying with my wife and I, along with my 16-year-old nephew. They all know about this story, by the way. I've told them before many times. A few days ago, I noticed the box was in a different spot than where I left it, and that's when I discovered that the bill was gone. He eventually confessed what he did because I was frantically looking for it all over the place. My nephew needed the money because he wanted to take his girlfriend out to eat, but my sister wouldn't give him any cash since he spent all his allowance money. Honestly, I was so furious and had asked him how he could do that, knowing that it was one of the few things I have of my best friend, and he stole it. My nephew kept apologizing, but I couldn't look at him. My emotions were a little too strong, and I just wanted to get away from him before I started yelling. My sister offered to pay me back, but she darn well knows that's not the same. However, she's saying I'm being too harsh on him because I've been ignoring him the past couple of days, and he's feeling ashamed enough. She's apologized on his behalf, but does think I'm taking it too far. Right now, it's still all too fresh for me. That bill wasn't important to me because of a memory that it holds. Now it's lost, and I'll never get it back. I'm not at a place where I want to talk to him yet, but my sister feels like I'm being somewhat of a jerk by punishing him like this as he's already learned his lesson. I'd just like to know if I am. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his nephew? Please let us know.
I'd kick out that nephew ASAP, and his mom for making excuses for him.
Am I the jerk for telling my sister to leave because of her fear? I'm 22, male, and my sister, 17, female, is afraid of snakes. She hates them, can't be near them. My boyfriend, 21, male, is the opposite. He loves them, and we actually have one, who's 2, female. Because of this, we normally go see her, or if she comes to our place, my boyfriend's sister will take our girl for the day. So we have a pool, and it's been really hot where we live, so we invited my sister and my parents around. Like normal, my boyfriend's sister came and took our snake. When they arrived, everything was fine until we got in the pool. My boyfriend has a tattoo of a snake. It's a blacked out silhouette that wraps around both of his arms and his back. When my sister saw it, she freaked out and told me to tell him to cover it. She knew about his tattoo, she just expected him to cover it, which he can't do without putting on a long sleeve t-shirt. I told her no. She then went over to him and asked him to leave because he knows about her fear. This annoyed me, and I told her that if she has an issue with it, then she should leave. This is his house, not hers. She got upset and just sat inside the whole time. When they left, my mom told me that I was rude to my sister, and we know about her fear and that we ruined her day. Now I'm starting to think that I could have handled the situation better. So, am I the jerk? Edit. I've been talking to someone in DMs, and they said I should add some stuff we talked about to my post. My boyfriend's tattoo is very important to him. We got our current baby after his old snake passed. The tattoo is based on a picture of his old snake wrapped over his arm and his back. Also, self-expression is very important to my boyfriend. He grew up in a very restrictive household. His mother controlled what he did and how he acted and what he wore. We didn't just move our snake because her enclosure is built into a large bookcase in our living room. Also, this only happens once every month or so. We normally visit her. Also, my boyfriend's sister is a huge reptile nerd and loves our girl almost as much as we do. My boyfriend actually has an irrational animal fear of his own, butterflies. He knows not all phobias work the same, but he thinks that her asking him to leave is ridiculous. Also, when I say that it's his house, I mean it's his house, not ours. Old lady forgets her bank card, nice lady saves the day. Hi all. First time posting, but I've been lurking for a while. I currently work as a cashier at a major grocery store chain in the Pacific Northwest. Believe it or not, I had just been hired the previous week, and this happened yesterday on my first shift on the registers after the mandatory training on the computers in the office. So this happened towards the end of my shift. It was fairly slow, and I was the only cashier at the time, somehow. This sweet old lady walked up and informed me that she'd have to pay by check because she left her bank card at home. I told her that was perfectly fine, but I'd need to call my supervisor over to show me how to use the check scanner since I'd never done it before. She agreed and I rang her up uneventfully. My supervisor comes over and they get the check made out to the right company for the right amount, and she shows me how to scan it into the system. A message pops up on the register informing me that I need to check her ID and input the driver's license number. I inform her of such and she seems upset but not angry. Dialogue is paraphrased, but as close to what was said as I can remember. Old lady.
But I left it at home with my bank card. I remember I keep them in a small plastic box, so they're together.
Supervisor. I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am. Unfortunately, there's no way to bypass this on the computer. Do you remember your driver's license number by chance? Old lady shakes her head, seeming sad. I'm just sort of standing back with my best sympathetic smile. My manager seems to have things handled, even though there's not much we can do. It's at this point that the customer in line behind old lady speaks up. Nice lady.
If you want to make the check out to me, I can pay with my bank card.
Old lady cheers up.
Would you? That would be wonderful.
Nice lady.
Yeah, I don't want you to go all the way back home and have to come back just to buy some groceries.
Old lady.
Thank you so much.
Old lady steps to the side to let nice lady put her card in the pin pad. Meanwhile, she makes out the check to nice lady. Once the payment goes through, I hand old lady the receipt, wish her a pleasant evening, and start scanning nice lady's stuff. Old lady hands nice lady the finished check, thanks her again, and leaves. Supervisor and I both thank nice lady, and she says something along the lines of,
"She seemed like a safe bet."
I compliment nice lady on her good deed for the day, and the rest of the shift goes by smoothly. Supervisor tells me as I clock out that I did really well for a first day. I'd worked as a cashier before, just never at a grocery store, and asks if I'm coming in tomorrow. I tell her my next shift, grab some groceries of my own, wish supervisor a good night on my way out, and head home. I feel like we could all use a break from the Karens of the world, and this felt like a good story that deserved to be shared. Thanks for reading. Am I the jerk for reporting a family for not telling me that their son was in the house while I was babysitting? Where I am, there's a babysitting service where people around the ages of 16 to 18 who can't get a real job work for. I have the app on my phone, and I get notified if the customer selects me for a babysitting session. I got a notification a couple of days ago, and everything seemed fine. They had a 4th grader, and they just wanted me to keep an eye on him. Their profile said that the kid was a bit unruly and talkative, but I was fine with that. What they didn't say on the app was that they had a son, not sure about his age, but young adult, maybe 19 to 21-ish, in the house I was going to be babysitting in. I wasn't allowed on the 2nd floor, so I was in the living room with the kid. I was on my phone, and I had a heart attack when I saw some random adult man about 6 feet tall and big just come from the stairwell to where I was. He didn't acknowledge me, and he walked by and got some food from the kitchen and went back upstairs. I genuinely thought he was a home invader, before realizing he came from upstairs and he was wearing homeware, so he had to be family. He didn't do anything to me, but I was freaked out. I was literally in a bad situation because I'm 5'3" and I'm 16, and I was in an unfamiliar house with a fully grown big dude. Like, it's a classic get out of there situation. I had about 4 hours left, and I didn't want a bad review, so I stayed there against all gut feelings. About 20 minutes or so later, I bumped into him again, and he asked me, "Are you the babysitter?" I said yes, and he said I was allowed to use the 2nd floor because the only reason I wasn't was because his parents didn't want me bumping into him, which already happened. I thanked him, but stayed on the 1st floor. After the session, I was furious for the situation I was put in. I wanted to call them and tell them that was not okay, but I needed their review, so I kept quiet. Later on, after they reviewed me, I reported them for not being clear with me about the situation at home. I told my friends about this because I don't know why they chose a 16-year-old girl to babysit their kid when they had a full-grown man in the house who seemed capable. And they told me reporting them was kind of a jerky thing to do because, 1, they would be permanently banned, and so I was denying the kid ever getting a babysitter. 2, I waited for a review, then I reported them. 3, the guy didn't do anything to me and was harmless. Now I'm conflicted, but I have 48 hours to call back for a report. So I need to know, am I the jerk? Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for reporting this family or not? Please let us know. My neighbor is bringing dangerous animals into our neighborhood. For some context, I live in Pennsylvania, 1 mile outside of a major city. My neighbor, 65, female, and her husband are from California. They purchased the house behind me online without ever visiting the area or apparently Google mapping the area because the house is surrounded by trees and we just love wildlife. We live on a soon-to-be 5-lane road that people use as an alternative to the interstate. There's 2 shopping malls and a major grocery store 1/4 mile down the road. Basically, we are not in the wilderness and live in an extended neighborhood amongst businesses and strip malls. Across the busy road is a mountain that is virtually untouched by humans. This woman is a huge activist, environmentalist, and vegan, and thinks the Game Commission is meant to hurt animals for fun. She has lived here in a residential neighborhood right outside of a city and a huge pro-hunting state for 3 years. When they moved in, they had termites and asked the exterminator to trap and release the termites. She also has not left her property in 2 years because, "I just can't bear to see roadkill. This is my neighbor." 2 years ago, we noticed a massive influx of squirrels. I had Grandma confirm this. Not only was there a lot of squirrels, but they were also fat and not afraid of humans. That's when we noticed that 2 times a day, this psycho is throwing about 5 pounds of birdseed and nuts on the ground because the squirrels depend on me to survive. We've had squirrels hiding nuts in our house walls. Squirrels took over my husband's workshop and they rip up all the flower beds hiding their nuts. My husband kindly asked her to stop, since what is not eaten will bring rats and mice. Plus, encouraging squirrels, rabbits, etc. to the immediate area will eventually bring dangerous animals as well. And he reminded her that squirrels will lose their instinct to forage the longer they have a human food source to replace the need to look for food. He was right about the dangerous animals. Last year, we had 4 separate bears reported within a 3-square-mile area of residential neighborhoods, as well as bobcats making a weekly appearance that we could hear. We ended up reporting her to the Game Commission 3 times last year, and they found multiple bear poop piles in her yard. Game Commission told her that she was responsible for the bears and ended up sending her a certified letter banning her from feeding any wildlife within our state. She didn't listen, and all winter I watched this lunatic sweep away snow in the grass to scatter her pounds of seed and nuts on the ground. Now spring is here, and we have a mama bear with 3 cubs roaming the area as well as 2 other lone bears. I love wildlife, but if I wanted to live among it, I would have bought a house on the other side of the mountain, like she should have. My issue with her is these animals are coming down from the mountain and crossing a very busy road to get to her daily/nightly buffet. It's not safe for the animals to be inadvertently luring them off the mountain. Last year, we had 2 bears hit by cars within a half-mile of our house. One of them was relocated by the Game Commission an hour away, came all the way back to the area, and was hit crossing the road in front of my house. At this point, I don't know what to do with this whack job. Clearly, reporting her does not help. She's so consumed with helping wildlife that she refuses to see that she's harming it instead. On top of it, we are all only living in this house until it's rezoned commercial and can sell it. She's so concerned for the wildlife/environment and is raising heck at township meetings about any major projects moving forward. I want her gone, or at the least, be told to shut up. Well, what would you do in this situation? Please let us know. Maybe we can get one of the bears to eat her. Am I the jerk for kicking my 3 sisters out of my wedding after they came with their kids? My wife and I got married 2 weeks ago. We wanted a child-free wedding, so we've let everyone know, my family, in-laws, and friends, and relatives, and everyone was okay with it, except for my family. I have 3 sisters, all with kids from 2 to 10. My mom said it was illogical to not allow kids since 1, this never happened in the family, and 2, my sisters live towns away, so the kids can't be left alone. After a lot of arguing and others getting involved, I stood my ground and they agreed to not bring kids. At the wedding, no one brought kids. My parents and aunts were already there, but then I saw my 2 sisters arriving with their kids. I immediately went to ask what's the deal. They began arguing with me when I said I won't be letting them in with the kids. I saw my older sister come with her kids in the car. I was upset. I asked why they decided to go against the rule and bring kids. My mom started yelling at me when I told my sisters they weren't allowed in with them. Everyone was yelling at me. I had to get the security involved to make them leave. My parents and aunt left shortly after. They were so upset with me. I got nasty texts and a letter, and my cousin posted about my crappy wedding on Facebook. Days later, I've gathered the family and explained that what they did was wrong. I asked if I allowed my sisters with their kids, what message does that send to my in-laws and friends who wanted to bring kids but they couldn't? My sisters argued with me, and it turned out my mom told them to bring their kids and she'd deal with me later. I told them they could have arranged for a babysitter, but my mom said they wanted to celebrate as a whole family. Said that I ruined my own wedding by making a scene, and everyone will always remember my wedding as a disaster, a crap show because of mine and my wife's child-free bull. They said the only way to fix it is to have another wedding/party and include everyone, especially the kids. I called them unreasonable. I asked Mom where the heck she got the nerve to even demand that. They blamed my wife and claimed it was deliberate. I left. They started talking to my wife, trying to convince her that they don't approve of what happened and that they're giving us the chance to fix the situation. Otherwise, the relationship is damaged. This caused me a headache, and I don't think what I did was wrong. I just wanted them to have some respect for my wife and her family. Well, who do you agree with? OP or his mom and his sisters? Please let us know. I can't believe how disrespectful they were to you. Entitled Mom loses it when I block her daughter on social media. So, this was this morning and I am a bit upset. My ex-friend decided to block me on all social media because of a text message stream we had back in November of last year. I'll try to rewrite it here. Also, we're both 14, if that clarifies anything. Friend. So I like other friend's name.
How about you?
Me. I like you. Friend blocks me. Now I'm confused and I asked her friends why she did that. They all say it's because she hates me for putting her on the spot like that. For the rest of middle school, she bullied me and got her friends to as well whenever they saw me. During quarantine, I guess she unblocked me because I got a text from her saying, "Hey, I'm sorry about what I did. Can we be friends?" I thought about this for a bit, and I hate being rude to people, so I just said sure. Now her friends at golf think we're dating. She calls me names like Boo and Babe, even though I have asked her not to. This was my final text message with her. Me. I don't understand why you're calling me this. We aren't dating. Friend. Yes, we are. You asked me out when you accepted my friendship again. Me. I never meant it that way, and if you think that, then I'm breaking up with you. Friend.
You can't do that. I'll choose when we're over.
Me. Alright, bye. I block her. A few days later, or this morning, I get a knock on my door. I open it to see friend bawling with her mother entitled Mom. Me. May I ask why you're here? Entitled Mom. How dare you break up with my daughter? Me. We weren't even dating. Yes, you were, you little jerk. You're such a jerk for ruining my daughter's life. At this point, I start to close the door, knowing I won't get anywhere by talking to them when the entitled mom juts her foot out to keep the door open. She is significantly larger than me, so she can easily overpower me and manages to get into the house. Me. Get out of my house! Entitled Mom. I won't leave until you agree to date my daughter again. I pull out my phone and call the cops while trying to make sure entitled Mom doesn't go anywhere. I was home alone, so my parents couldn't exactly help, considering they were at work. About 15 minutes later of arguing, the police arrive and start asking questions. Officer, what seems to be the problem? Entitled Mom. He attacked me. Me. Actually, she broke into the house and demanded I date her daughter. Officer. Ma'am, please step outside. No, this little jerk needs to date my daughter. The police officer was chill the whole time and eventually got her off my property. I still have friend blocked and haven't heard from them yet. I haven't pressed charges and it seems to have mellowed out. I'll update if anything happens. Edit. For everyone saying to press charges, we decided against it. She doesn't have a great life, the dad is out of the picture, and we don't want to make it worse. Thanks for all the support though. Most of y'all have given positive feedback, and I thank the nice people for that. We are, however, going for a restraining order, and I'll update when that happens. Am I the jerk for taking my son to a plastic surgeon without his mom knowing? We have a 12-year-old son who spends 50-50 with me and his mother. He had these two moles on his face, one on his left cheek and the other on the corner of his nose. He's become quite sensitive about it lately and wanted them removed. He's been very vocal about it. I took him to the doctor for something unrelated and asked him about it. He gave me a number of another doctor who happens to be a plastic surgeon. We had a consultation with the plastic surgeon who said it was no problem removing them with a scalpel. In fact, he offered to do it right then and there because it would take less than 10 minutes. Otherwise, we would have to schedule something and the next appointment would be in October. I asked my son if he wanted to and he said yes. My son just needed one stitch and is healing quickly. He's quite happy with the results. I dropped him off today at his mom's and she went nuclear over his moles being removed. She said that I should have asked her before getting the procedure done and that our son had plastic surgery. I explained to her that he's old enough to make his own choices on the matter and that the doctor offered to do it at the consultation. Plus, it's not really a big deal. We're talking about 2 moles. That's why I didn't call her. It's like a parent getting mad at another parent for not consulting them over their 12-year-old's nail polish color. Edit. Mole removal is a simple procedure. Edit. For people asking why I didn't wait until October, he has school pictures next Thursday. He didn't want to take a picture with the moles on his face, so the opportunity came to remove his moles and I took it. If I had stopped and consulted my ex, then she would have gotten all riled up over 2 moles. I still would have signed off even if she said no. That would have upset her even more. Well, what do you think? Should he have gotten permission from his mother before he did this or not? Please let us know. Do us a huge favor and come watch this one next. You're not gonna believe what happens. Join as a channel member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And to have us make a video for you, come visit us on Fiverr. Link pinned in the comments below.